Welcome back. You are watching and listening to Breakfast with Ellie and Anne, and we're going to take a look at some of the newspaper front pages for you now.
Yeah, starting with the Mail on Sunday, and that's the big bombshell because it's leading with allegations made by Princess Diana's brother, Earl Spencer, that he was sexually abused by the school assistant matron. He was sexually abused from 11, and it's quite a revelation, very, very controversial.
Yeah, I would say if you're going to read one thing today, that would
It really is, and the school's not denying it either.
No, not at all. The Observer leads with legal fears over Michael Gove's new definition of extremism.
The Sunday Express leads with the Labour Party being branded cowards over the boat migrant crisis.
The Sunday Telegraph leads with Michael Gove's warning for protesters not to march alongside extremists.
And the Sunday Times leads, this is astonishing too, with Boris Johnson flying out for secret talks with Venezuela's leader.
Well, joining us now to go through what's making the news this morning is personal finance and consumer affairs commentator Georgie Frost and broadcaster Pete Price. Really good to see you both this morning. And Georgie, should we start with the Sunday Telegraph? And it's Michael Gove's comments to pro-Palestine protesters.
Yeah, indeed. That don't march alongside extremists, Gove tells protesters. Yes, indeed. As you mentioned there, it was all about this new extremism definition. I think that obviously we saw many people march in London. We're seeing, anti-Semitism at record highs in London, and the government are trying to get on top of this, I would suggest. Look, I think there's a bit of politicking involved in this, but there's also related to, as I said, the government's new definition, whatever that might be, of extremism. I think what people would want to know is it's not so much about the definitions, it's about the enforcement. Exactly. Are we going to get enforcement of it rather than... And when I say politicking, I mean more, you are going to get more stories, and we're talking about them in the front pages today, about immigration, about extremism, things that the Tory party can set out, I believe, as their stall ahead of what's known as an election.
How can you enforce it? How can you enforce it with such crowds of people? How?
Well, it does appear, doesn't it, that police actually don't know how to enforce it. That's half the difficulty. They don't know how to police it.
I understand that.
And the people who are marching are playing... They're playing the police for fools in some cases, aren't they? Because some of them are shouting from the river to the sea and whatever. They're deliberately flagrant comments, holding up certain banners, covering their faces. But within seconds, they'll take their face coverings off, they'll stop the chanting before the police can actually intervene anyway.
The sad thing is, so many people are doing it for the right reasons and they're being manipulated.
Yes.
And when you see them on television, I saw them on GBNEWS the other day, they don't realise they're being manipulated. I'm sorry, you are being manipulated.
I think it's incredibly difficult, specifically for the police, to know. And I know this is rather an unpopular position here. Like, there are some chants and some things that are absolutely unacceptable. They are defined. But we need to protect the right to freedom of speech. And this is where this balance comes in, the right to protest. So I get very nervous when you have politicians talking about redefinition of extremism in almost a backlash of something that's been going on at the time. Look, consider this. Look at the laws that we have. Are they fit for purpose across all sort of walks of life and demographics and those sorts of things? Because we've had this issue with, does it mean that, say, gender-critical women are going to be encompassed in this? People who are religious, just religious Christians or Muslims are going to be encompassed in this new definition of extremists and therefore don't have the freedom to go out and make protest.
It's a total minefield, as you just said. It's a total minefield. And whatever you say, we're living in this world of woke now, so that also is added to it. So how can you... How many people were in London yesterday? How can you possibly police those people and hear every word they say, everything they're talking about? It's an absolute minefield.
And judge them on the spot, on the pavement. Judge them for the way they said something.
Frightening.
And look, if the police go in there heavy-handed, it's the police that are going to get in trouble as well. But they have absolutely every right, we should say, to protest, but the police have a really, really, I think, difficult balancing act. And it does need leadership and definition about what is acceptable and what is not, because they're clearly struggling at the moment.
And, of course, everybody's got their phones and they video everything, so you've got all that, and that's the videos you see. You never see the video, the negative against the police.
Well, that's what we saw happen yesterday, didn't we? It was a counter-protester who was arrested yesterday. He had he alleges that he had a placard up saying that Hamas are terrorists. He says he was arrested for holding that placard.
The police deny that, though, don't they?
They say that wasn't the case. He was arrested for assault in a separate incident. He was then de-arrested after they'd reviewed the footage. But that just goes to show, doesn't it? The whole thing was filmed. It escalated online. There are
that was one
everywhere.
case of all those thousands of people.
It is so
one
difficult.
Stupid case. And it was a stupid case compared to what's going on.
It's very difficult for the police to police these protests. I'm sure.
And I still think it is intimidating. Not the fact that you're Jewish. It's intimidating seeing crowds like that coming into London. It's nothing to do with
But we always know
Jewish.
that big protests always attract people that are there just for trouble. And that's the problem. And they make the headlines, and they certainly cause the trending X's or whatever, tweets or whatever you call them. Pete, let's go to the Sunday Express front page, where James Cleverly is lashing out at the Labour Party, calling them cowards and hypocrites. For what?
Well, they're saying this, they're criticising everything about the small boats situation and the immigrants coming in, the illegal immigrants coming in, but they won't do anything about it. That's what they're saying. They won't do anything about it. I'm going to be controversial now and say I think they should send some people to Rwanda and watch them and find out what life is like for them. And instead of all this money being wasted, you know, it's a warmer country. It could be a good place to send them. But just send a group, I don't know, 20 people and have them watched and see what life's like. Because it's all very well Keir Starmer and the Labour Party having a go at the Conservatives. Nobody has got the answer. I think all politicians should get together if they've got an answer, and all politicians should say, this is how we're going to get rid of these
that's
people.
such a good idea, isn't it?
I'm pretty sure that they've sent people out there already. It's going to be very difficult for them to simulate what it would be like. Look, this has gone through the court. My big issue is that this is the flagship. OK, this is costing billions. The illegal migration is costing billions as well. Let's not, you know, we're spending $8 million a day on hotel bills, I believe, which is destroying local communities. Make no bones about it. Something needs to get done. But it feels like this is the only thing for the Conservatives. And if this doesn't work, what is plan B, C, D, E, F? You know, we do need to boost border security, which is what Labour are saying. Now, they need to cost it, they need to write down exactly what they're going to do. But, you know, we do need to smash the criminal gangs. We need to make it so that people don't want to come over here. If the fear of travelling on the Channel crossing, where you could die, isn't enough to turn people off, going to Rwanda on a bill that's going to take years to pass through is really not going to be turning people off either. We absolutely need to have, you know, multilateral agreements with the EU particularly. We need to beef up security and, we need something meaningful about it.
What about your idea, Pete, though? Instead of Conservative and Labour, you know, ripping pieces out of each other over this, why don't they set up some sort of a cross-party?
There'd be a lot more respect for them. A lot more respect for them.
Because Labour, if they win the next election, are going to have to deal with this problem.
Absolutely. And as you say about coming across, that poor child that was killed in the river, who was drowned, and the parents have said, we are still going to come to England. If we're dealing with people like that, what can we possibly do to stop and deter people?
Get rid of the gangs. That's absolutely where.
But how do you get rid of the gangs? You can never get rid of the mafia over all those years. You could how do you get rid of the gangs? There's so much money being made. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Look, we've only got a minute left, and while there's lots in the papers to talk about, it is Mother's Day, and I just wondered if you wanted to say anything on the subject of Mother's Day.
I would love to say, and I put it on social media, my mum, I'm adopted. My mum was the most beautiful mum on God's earth, and the woman who had me gave me away, which was the best thing ever, and Hilda was my mum. But I've got to tell you, I always did a do on Sundays at a place called The Grapes in Liverpool, and a woman used to come with her mother for Mother's Day. bring the ashes, and it was whiskey for whiskey. And every Monday she'd come back because she was legless and had to come and pick the urn up.
Well, what a way to celebrate Mother's Day. Any thoughts?
Yeah, obviously I've got to mention my mother as well, but I don't have children. I lost a baby last year, and so this is for all those women and men, because it's devastating for partners as well, who sadly are not mothers, wanted to be and couldn't be. Thoughts are with you. That's all I'll say. But my mum is also
you're absolutely right.
Superstar.
And we've been trying to make that point. Mother's Day is sometimes quite a painful day for some people,
for
lots of different reasons.
Exactly.
And they should be. We should shout out to them as well.
And such an important message.
Because I was a mother. I do believe I was a mother. It didn't survive, but I was a mother.
And they always make the point, don't they?
I've got a dog.
There's no word for a mother who should be a mother and isn't.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no word.
Interesting too with Mother's Day, which really upset me when I used to say on my radio show that look after your mum. Some people say, but we don't have a relationship with our mums.
Yeah, I know, and that's sad too.